There was no announcement, no press conference, no joint statement, no tweet from Brad Garlinghouse saying, "Thrilled to partner with Nasdaq." No Nasdaq press release mentioning Ripple. It just appeared. In March 2026, Nasdaq announced it was integrating Telos digital asset infrastructure into its Calypso risk platform for trade surveillance and tokenized collateral management across traditional and crypto markets. Telos, as of 2025, has Ripple Prime, formerly Hidden Road, as a connected prime brokerage partner. Telos clients can route, flow, and credit directly through Ripple Prime, which means Telos clients can use XRP and Relust through the infrastructure they already have. Follow the chain. Nasdaq wires into Telos. Telos connects to Ripple Prime. Ripple Prime runs on XRP ledger rails. No announcement, no headline, no trending hashtag, just infrastructure, quietly built, quietly connected, quietly operational. And this same week, the head of digital assets at BlackRock, the firm that manages $10 trillion, said 3 words that every XRP holder should write down. Place your bets now. Not in 2030. Not when the Clarity Act passes. Not when the bull market returns. Now, today we are going to show you exactly what those bets are being placed on and why the people placing them are doing it through infrastructure, not through Twitter. Welcome to the Com Analyst. Let me make the infrastructure chain precise, because the significance here is not in any single connection, but in the cumulative picture they create together. Nasdaq is the world's second largest stock exchange by market capitalization. Its Calypso platform manages risk, trade surveillance, and collateral across some of the most sophisticated institutional trading operations in the world. When Nasdaq integrates Telos into that platform, it is not a casual experiment. It is Nasdaq making a deliberate decision about which digital asset infrastructure connects to its core operational stack. Telos is an institutional-grade digital asset trading platform used by hundreds of exchanges, banks, and market makers globally. Its connectivity network includes Ripple Prime as a supported prime brokerage partner, meaning Telos clients can access XRP and Relust liquidity through the Ripple Prime infrastructure directly. The chain Nasdaq's collateral management system connects to Telos. Telos connects to Ripple Prime. Ripple Prime provides XRP and Relust liquidity. Any institution using Nasdaq's infrastructure and routing through Telos can in principle access XRP ledger rails. This is not a 3-way partnership announcement. It is an indirect infrastructure connection built through 2 separate bilateral integrations, and that is precisely why it flew under the radar of most XRP content. There was nothing to announce. The connection was assembled silently through institutional infrastructure decisions that individually made complete sense and collectively built something much larger. Most blockchains do not have this level of institutional connectivity. XRP does because Ripple spent a decade building relationships with the exact institutions that are now building the infrastructure stack of the tokenized financial system. Let me give you the precise framing from BlackRock because I think the specific language used is worth examining carefully. The head of digital assets at BlackRock did not say we are cautiously optimistic about tokenization. They did not say we believe this could be significant in the coming years. They said place your bets now, and they said it in context of a specific claim. Eventually, all assets will be tokenized. Now, they were careful to note this is not a foregone conclusion. They said there is a very decent chance of full tokenization rather than certainty. But then they made the statement that I think is the most analytically important thing said by a major institutional figure in this space recently. You do not have to believe it is 100% likely to place big bets. You just have to believe it is some material probability. This is the institutional investor's framework for positioning and transformative technology. You do not wait for certainty. Certainty is priced in. You position when the probability is material, but the market has not yet fully reflected it. And BlackRock's head of digital assets is saying that moment is now. The implications if full tokenization happens, the transformation of financial infrastructure is described as massive, affecting every player in the value chain. How markets operate, how investors access assets, and what they have exposure to. The bet is not on a specific price. It is on whether a fundamental restructuring of financial infrastructure occurs. And for anyone who has been paying attention to the Nasdaq Talos chain, the Singapore Bloom Sandbox, the DTCC patents, the ECB testing, and the Convern we will cover in a moment, The probability calculation is becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss. The Nasdaq infrastructure chain nobody announced and BlackRock's head of digital assets saying, "Place your bets now with the institutional probability framework." This is the analysis that separates the investor who is positioned before the infrastructure becomes obvious from the one who reads about it afterward. If being ahead of that visibility curve is what you have been looking for, subscribe to the Comm Analyst right now. Hit that button and turn on notifications because the $70 trillion wealth transfer and the AI agent argument I'm about to cover are the two catalysts that make the current infrastructure build not just significant but urgent. Let's keep going. Let me now address the two demand catalysts that I think most XRP analysis is significantly underweighting. The first is generational wealth transfer. Over the next 10 to 20 years, approximately $70 trillion in assets will move from the baby boomer generation to their children and grandchildren. This is not a speculative projection. It is a demographic inevitability, the largest intergenerational transfer of wealth in human history. The critical variable, younger generations who are the recipients of that wealth are significantly more comfortable with blockchain technology than with traditional financial instruments. The major brokerages know this. The institutional investors know this. It is precisely why every major financial institution is building crypto exposure, tokenization capabilities, and digital asset infrastructure right now. Not because they have fully converted to the crypto thesis, but because they can see where the money is going and they are positioning to manage it. $70 trillion flowing into a financial system that increasingly operates on blockchain rails with a fixed supply of XRP and a network that is already being used to settle cross-border payments, tokenize treasuries, and institutional collateral is not a speculative narrative. It is a demographic event with a documented timeline. The second catalyst is AI agents. The head of ONO made a specific observation this week that I think deserves to be repeated precisely. An AI agent cannot walk into a bank and open a bank account, but it can manage a crypto wallet. Think about what that means at scale. As AI systems become capable of conducting autonomous financial transactions, rebalancing portfolios, executing trades, settling cross-border payments on behalf of businesses, they need financial infrastructure that they can access programmatically without human intermediation at any hour on any day. The XRP Ledger 4SE second-on settlement fractions of a penny per transaction available 247 programmable is architecturally designed for exactly this function. The open wallet standard which Ripple co-founded alongside PayPal Circle and Solana makes XRP a default settlement option for AI agents operating in this ecosystem. This is not future state speculation. The standard exists. The infrastructure is being built, and the number of AI agents that will need to transact financially over the next 5 years is not small. Let me now add two specific developments from this week that I think deserve precise attention. First, Ripple has partnered with Conver to expand enterprise cross-border payments. Conver is one of the largest non-bank B2B foreign exchange payment providers in the world, serving 26,000 businesses across more than 200 countries. Ripple is providing the stable coin and blockchain settlement rails underneath a structure where flows begin and end in fiat, but settle via Rust on-chain. The scale here is worth pausing on. 26,000 businesses, 200 countries. Every one of those businesses that processes a cross-border payment through Convera is now settling through Ripple's infrastructure without necessarily knowing or caring that they are using blockchain technology. The user experience is familiar bank rails. The settlement is XRP Ledger infrastructure. This is how institutional adoption actually scales through utility, not through conversion. Second, DO confirmed that Ripple's $149 billion Rust supply is fully backed by $157 billion in reserves. The reserve structure aligns with New York Department of Financial Services regulatory guidance. This audit matters beyond the specific numbers. It answers the question that any financial institution evaluating Rust as a settlement currency must ask. Is this asset what it claims to be? DO's confirmation, one of the most credible auditors in the world, says yes. And that answer combined with NYDFS regulatory alignment creates the compliance foundation that differentiates Rust from every other major stablecoin in the current market. When a bank in Conver's network needs to evaluate which stablecoin to use for cross-border settlement, the choice between an unadulterated asset and a DOT-audited NYDFS-compliant one is not complicated. Let me close with the synthesis that I think connects everything we have covered today into a single actionable framework. BlackRock's head of digital assets said, "Place your bets now." The Nasdaq Thales Ripple infrastructure chain appeared without a press release. Bono, whose technology Franklin Templeton chose and BlackRock builds on, went from crypto podcast to Bloomberg television in 12 months. Converged 26,000 businesses in 200 countries into Ripple's settlement rails. Relust was audited by DOT and confirmed fully backed. Nasdaq-listed options on a multi-asset crypto ETF that includes XRP. The first time U.S.-listed options have been available on an ETF with XRP in the basket. None of these developments were accompanied by the kind of retail media coverage that drives XRP price in the short term. They were institutional infrastructure moves, the kind that get noticed by compliance teams, risk managers, and portfolio allocation committees rather than by retail investors watching charts. This is how the adoption curve works. Infrastructure gets built silently. Connectivity gets established without press releases. And then one day, the critical mass of institutional participants who are now connected to XRP ledger rails reaches the point where the network effect fires and the price reflects in days what the infrastructure took years to build. You do not have to believe tokenization is 100% certain to act on this. You just have to believe, as BlackRock's head of digital assets said, that it is some material probability. And the question worth asking is whether the current XRP price reflects the current probability accurately. The calm investor's answer is clear. It does not. The Nasdaq chain nobody announced BlackRock's "Place Your Bets," framing the $70 trillion generational transfer. AI agents that can manage wallets, but not bank accounts. Converse 26,000 businesses and DOT confirming Relust. Every week, this channel finds the infrastructure stories that the price chart is not yet reflecting and brings them into a single clear picture. If staying ahead of what the price chart has not yet shown is the kind of analysis that matters to you, subscribe to the Calm Analyst right now. Hit the button, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who is still waiting for the official announcement that Nasdaq partnered with XRP, because the announcement is never coming. The infrastructure already is. Thank you genuinely for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Stay calm, stay ahead of the infrastructure, and I will see you in the next.